So for the last 20 years, I've been a teacher at Chico State, a professor at Chico State, and I teach future physical education teachers. With that job comes the responsibility to also improve the profession, and my work has centered around advocacy. I also, as part of my professor job, do projects and research and scholarship in different areas. So my projects always include being active in the schools. We have a website, supportrealteachers.org, and we promote quality physical education. We have tools that teachers can use to teach quality physical education, and it's just in general educating parents and administrators about what quality is. So what I wanted to do is pick a school that we could do a makeover and show that if there are barriers in this school that are similar to other schools, and we can still make a quality program happen, and we can do it in an even more challenging situation. You know, you can say if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere. So we found that school, and it was that kind of school with those kinds of barriers, and it was the Children's Storefront. My sister is on the board of the school, and she knew all the administrators, the board members, and it wasn't that difficult to get them to listen to the idea of what we wanted to do.
Well, we've been aware for a long time about the problems that especially the inner city in Harlem is facing with obesity. The cheapest food to find would be all the junk food chains around the neighborhood, and we found that it's really important to teach our kids to eat right, to exercise. So when we were offered this program, there was no doubt that this was a good investment for our kids and their families, because once the kids are into keeping fit and eating right, they go home and tell their parents about it. Siblings, you know, it has a good effect on the community.
My name is Wendy Reynoso, and I'm the head of school for the Children's Storefront, and I'm responsible for just about every aspect of the life of the school, the life of the students, and the teachers and the other administrators here.
You know, the Children's Storefront is a tuition-free school located in East Harlem, serving 174 students and just ensuring that they graduate high school and graduate college. That is our goal.
The school is unique. It doesn't look like a school at all. The first thing you see when you get there is it just looks like a street with brownstones on either side, cars parked in the middle, and then you see a lot of children, and then you start looking around and you notice the blue railings, and you go, okay, that must be the school. But where is the playground? Where do they do recess? Well, obviously right here, because there's nowhere else. And you kind of get this feeling like this school, it has the sense and the feel of a real school, but it doesn't look like it.
We have there's a lot of poverty here. I mean, it's an interesting thing because it's Harlem, and there's been a lot of changes over time and over years, but just pockets of blocks. It's just so desolate, and that is what our students pass by when they're on their way to campus. 129th Street is where we are, and that's known to be, especially this one section that's known to be the drug section. And there are many of our students who are walking back and forth through that corridor, if you will, and then entering what I say, it's just the safe haven of the 129th block. And then everything east of that and west of that is suspect.
As wonderful as Storefront is, we don't have the big classrooms. We don't have, it's important that the kids don't get cooped up in these small classrooms and don't get to move around and understand the importance of that.
When I first spoke with Katrina, and she had mentioned that she had been here years before, and that she wanted to really help improve the overall health and wellness of the, for the students and the administrators, or the children's storefront population. I thought, okay, what is this woman going to bring? What is this woman going to, what is she bringing? What is she selling?
I cannot do this alone. Will you come when I'm riding on the one?
When I was a little girl in Norway, we had a fairy tale that I always loved, and I'm probably not remembering it very accurately, but this is what I remember. This is what I got out of it anyway. This man comes to the village, and he is hungry. He has nothing, but instead of begging for food, he promises the village that he can make the best soup just with a stone. So he starts the process, and in the process he gets the whole village to contribute to the soup with various things, because he'll say something like, oh yeah, no, it's going to be delicious, but if we only had some onions, it would really kick, and so forth. So that's how I feel this project was. I started with a really good idea, I thought, and found a really good place to implement that idea. Got the support of the stakeholders who were involved at the school, and then I had to get supporters on board that could help with get over some of the big barriers. For example, we needed equipment, and we needed help with the curriculum, and there was one friend I knew I could go and ask.
I've known Katrina for quite a while. It was really exciting when I got to meet her, when her and I, and you also, we were on Capitol Hill, and that's when I first found out about Katrina and what she's doing. And since then, over the years, I spoke with her at the National AFERD conference, and that's when she presented this project to me, and I said, oh yes, Spark wants to be so involved. Katrina's helped out with our writing of our Spark music, for our dances for middle school and high school, and I said, oh, I'd love to be a part of this project. When I heard about Children's Storefront and the school and what they're doing and how we could help, it was really inspiring to be a part of this.
Once I got Spark on board, other supporters trickled in, because now we had the curriculum, and now we had the equipment, and now we had the training of the teachers, and now we got more equipment donated from other sources, and other people gave us other kinds of curriculum. And we had a lot of smaller and larger donations from around that were really helping us able to make this soup the best it could be.
It's a really unique school. I think space here in New York City is the most challenging, and I was like, wow, it's very, very small. I grew up in the Midwest. We had a lot of space, so it was a little bit of a shock.
Well, we have a lot of good reasons why physical education is important in schools. We know that quality physical education can do a variety of positive things in the school setting. We know that it can help with discipline problems, it can boost academic achievement, boost children's fitness, overall wellness, help them develop the skills they need to be active and carry these kinds of behaviors into the rest of their lives. And the knowledge they need has to be involved in that as well. With that, all of those components can end up helping us save money. We're going to have more productive workers. We're going to have less sick workers when they're more well. I mean, society as a whole can save a lot of money if quality physical education is implemented throughout the nation.
Well, I believe the real importance of physical education is to provide all students with the skills, the knowledge, and the dispositions or the attitude or motivation to be physically active throughout their lifetime. Parents have very high expectations for their child's school experience in many content areas. They expect AP courses in English and history and all those things. But I have found that parents' expectations for their child's physical education experience is not to that same standard, and really it should be.
So a quality PE program is going to be difficult to spot if you don't know what it takes to build one. So we have to educate people on what it looks like.
When you see a program with one ball and kids waiting in lines, that doesn't take any sophistication to know that that's not a quality physical education program, particularly when you see it day after day. If we can get that message across to parents, I think they're our best ally in terms of convincing administrators, and eventually physical educators that know that program, kids can do better.
So our goal is to prepare them and motivate them, and that's the important role, I think, of a physical educator.
I think it's just as important as any other subject, maybe even more important, given that it promotes long-term health in the individual, which, as it turns out, people who never or rarely exercise are more likely to have health problems. Health problems are going to be a lot more serious in the future for individuals than whether they were an expert in science or mathematics.
My sister hated physical education. She was a year ahead of me. She flunked physical education in high school, and I always got A's. But I would have to say that I really think it came down to our teachers, because for some reason I always had teachers that cared about what they were doing. And so they would get to know the students, they'd build a relationship with us, they had expectations for us in terms of performing and participating in that kind of thing. I don't recall people ever sitting at the side. My sister, on the other hand, I remember she had one of her teachers, Nancy would go into class and the teacher would be sitting at the side, like you said, reading a book or a newspaper. She didn't care what they did. And so from that perspective, Nancy was shown that it's not important. Teacher doesn't even like it, and so why would I like it?
And schools have the opportunity to reach all children. Other opportunities are for select children. Schools see all children.
Certain segments of the population receive less physical education in more impoverished communities. There's less physical education, there's less recess. And unfortunately, required PE in schools is the only place that some of these individuals will ever become vigorously active.
Just as with any other subject in school, there should be learning and physical education every single lesson. There should be learning objectives, there should be a plan for how to reach those objectives, there should be assessment, and all of it should be relating to and addressing national and state standards. We have wonderful standards in place, and they lead to a physically literate person, and that's the goal with quality physical education.
The reality in schools across the country, particularly at the secondary level, is that the individual that's hired by a school district, be it a public or private school, is going to end up handling dual roles of teaching and coaching. And because of history, because of the culture being so crazy about inter-school sports, oftentimes that's what gets the energy, that's what gets the time, the planning. And so despite all the great work that a student might accomplish in their training program to provide well-rounded lessons for all kids, that training can be easily washed out by a school district that doesn't emphasize teaching, but only emphasizes the coaching or the athletic program for a few kids versus quality for all kids.
We know what to do. Research is clear. We know what children need. And a lot of teacher preparation programs do all the right things. The problem is when they get out there in the field and there's a status quo and there's a stereotype of physical education that unfortunately rings true in a lot of places. So the disconnect is my problem too. I've been in this profession for 20 years and I'm frustrated by how slow this process is. It drives me absolutely nuts to see teachers out there wasting kids' time. One of my former students, David Janinas, got a job in Albany, which is in the Bay Area of Northern California, close to San Francisco. And he got that job because there was a parent at his school before he arrived who sued the school district because they were not providing the physical education that by law they were supposed to in California.
Well, my son was in second grade, and the day was long for him. There was too little activity, there was too much sitting at his desk, and he wasn't learning as much as he could have been. And he wasn't enjoying the day. He was ending up feeling stressed from lack of activity. And he told me that even when he took physical education, that he wasn't physically active. And he claimed that the kids in physical education played games like line tag, where they were required to walk in a line to tag each other, and they were not allowed to run. So I hooked up a heart monitor and a GPS tracker so I could tell where he was. At the end of the day, I'd get the information. And it turned out that when he was in physical education, his average heart rate was lower than his average heart rate for the day in school. The only time his heart rate got really high was when the final bell of the day rang and he broke the rules and ran across the playground. So I wanted to see him more active. I wanted to see him enjoy school more. I wanted to see him learn more. And when I raised the issue that the kids weren't getting good physical education, I found out that they weren't getting the required amount of physical education either.
This particular parent went beyond what most parents would do, and I'm really happy about that. That is what needed to be done in order for that school district to get its act together.
Well, I noticed that the principal, just in having a conversation with him in an interview, he really cared. He seemed to ask me types of questions that I could tell he knew a little bit something about physical education. That was really cool. I also know that there are a lot of parents here that had a lot of support for it. So I was even warned that some kids will even be wearing pedometers to make sure they're getting enough physical activity. And they'd have parents were out there sometimes even on the sidewalk with binoculars making sure their kid was getting pee.
One of the trips we took was to a place close to Seattle where Tracy Krause, National Football League's Teacher of the Year, was doing his thing, very focused on collaboration with the other teachers in a high school setting, an exemplary teacher and an exemplary program. And it was just really cool to see that the National Football League really got it right.
Well, I think the first thing is you have to be persistent. I mean, a lot of times your ideas are going to get shut down. Things aren't going to work out the way you want to. Those things can be frustrating. They can lead to not being excited about doing the job anymore. And I think that you just really have to be persistent and seek out opportunities and partnerships and collaborate. They're out there. There are other people, like you said, that want to do this and they want to work really hard and they want to have a great program. It's a matter of seeking out those opportunities. I think a great thing is your state organization, to be involved with them, because there's usually like-minded people that want to do that.
And I think this whole notion of using physical education as the cornerstone for quality physical education, as the cornerstone for promotion of physical activity in the schools is so important, but it's also important to get all of the other pieces of the school environment involved.